Hey everyone, welcome back. It's Christian Harris here with another Christian's Conversations. With today, I have the pleasure of being joined by Gerri Harris to
Right,
talk
everyone.
about where she's at in her career today and what the job search market is like for her. So, Gerri, welcome. Thanks for joining.
No problem. Pleasure.
If you don't mind, if you could give everybody a little bit information on your career journey and what led you to where you're at today.
Always been looking since I graduated college. I think the job market now is worse than when I graduated college, like back in 2008. I mean, it's just horrible. Both my positions been there forever. It's just time to go. And it's hard to find something because some people look at your tenure as a good thing. That's why they want to interview you. That other people are like, oh, you have a lot of experience. They don't know if they can afford you. So it goes both ways.
As someone that was at their position, similar to you, I've had since I graduated college, I've really had two main jobs. I was one for about a decade and then the last one for 18 years. So kind of in the same boat, which, like you said, a lot of people will look at, hey, Jerry's been in a position for X amount of years, fantastic. Other ones are like, well, why did you stay there for so long? Why weren't you looking for other things? The way I was kind of brought up in, I guess, my generation was if you worked for what we considered a good company, you stayed there for as long as you could, even if maybe the grass was always greener or things like that. Were you in the kind of same boat in a sense?
In a sense, but I went off to college, did other stuff, retail and all that. Had a family while going back and forth to college full time and working, and found that jobs are very hard to come by. I mean, especially during the pandemic. Some resume and career coaches say, yes, that's good to job hunt. Others say no. I'm like, it all varies. But I said the world as we know it when the pandemic hit is totally different. A lot of things that worked back 5, 10 years ago, they don't work now.
How do you, so for someone that hadn't had to look for quite some time, what was your probably biggest adjustments compared to what you had to do like when you left college that surprised you?
When I left college, it was kind of like now. It was kind of like a recession. And we would go to job fairs, have our resumes, be dressed all professional, go, and they would say, oh, you're a little too overqualified, but we'll be in contact. But people dressed regular t-shirts and jeans got the job. You know, is that still true now? Somewhat. Does networking help? It did then. Does it now? No. I've tried that with a couple people I've met through LinkedIn, and they've even tried to push my profile resume through, and sometimes it doesn't work, especially in this day and age with AI and ATS. You see it like you try to beat the system, but then you don't. That's why sometimes I'll sit there and post a rejection email at midnight or 1 o'clock. We know HR recruiters are not working at this time of the night.
Yeah, I think unfortunately we all get those. How do you, so for someone that hadn't had to look for quite some time, what was your probably biggest adjustments compared to what you had to do like when you left college that surprised you?
When I left college, it was kind of like now. It was kind of like a recession. And we would go to job fairs, have our resumes, be dressed all professional, go, and they would say, oh, you're a little too overqualified, but we'll be in contact. But people dressed regular t-shirts and jeans got the job. You know, is that still true now? Somewhat. Does networking help? It did then. Does it now? No. I've tried that with a couple people I've met through LinkedIn, and they've even tried to push my profile resume through, and sometimes it doesn't work, especially in this day and age with AI and ATS. You see it like you try to beat the system, but then you don't. That's why sometimes I'll sit there and post a rejection email at midnight or 1 o'clock. We know HR recruiters are not working at this time of the night.
Yeah, I think unfortunately we all get those where, like I said, in the middle of the night, the rejection notices. I guess some of it, for me at least, you're almost, I wouldn't say happy, but at least I'm getting a notice saying, hey, we've decided not to kind of move forward with your resume because it's better than the alternative, which is you never get a response. And I think we all experience that more than we would like in today's
That
market.
and people ghosting you, recruiters or people you interview ghosting you and they never hear back. Even if you send them a thank you email, they never reply back. I've had that happen a couple times.
Yeah.
Or was it 2 weeks ago? I posted something on LinkedIn where it was a school district here, very excited to sit there and interview me. They had to change the time. And when I got there, they said, "Oh, someone should have told you we hired someone last night." Like, so you wasted my time and my gas to come out here when you could have called earlier in the day. And that's happened. That was the second time that's happened. I said, never again. I won't mess with that company ever. I just did a little post on LinkedIn saying, Is this what companies and recruiters do now?
Yeah, that's bad. That's bad form. I mean, especially if it was something you had to drive into. Nowadays, the interviews you do, or at least that I do, are almost always online. Still would not be the best situation, but at least I'm not driving out, like you said, spending more time and energy, and then finding out, yeah, sorry, we've not only are not going to interview, but we've hired somebody else
Yeah.
prior to that. Obviously, you probably get asked this a lot. Working at a funeral home, what's that like,
You
or
get
what was
used
that
to it.
like?
It doesn't bother me. I've been doing it since middle school. I was supposed to go to mortuary school, but I wanted the actual full college experience. And I got some of that, not all of it. Because me and chemistry, we don't get along. You know, I would mix stuff together, try to blow stuff up versus do other stuff. And I'm like, that's not what I really wanted to do. Got in IT, like they were creating the web design program as they were going along. And they had one math class, and to this day, I say they created that. The teacher drew like a circle on the board. It wasn't circumference, radius, or diameter. It was something else, and everyone in class is looking dumbfounded, like, do you know what he's talking about? Nope, I do not. There was no tutor for us. I said, let me switch majors and get the heck out of school. Do communication, broadcasting, one math, I'm done. But the funeral business, it helps on my end. It helped with a lot of emotions, especially when you lose your loved ones. You can kind of help because I helped with both my grandparents when they passed away.
Yeah, and it's at where one of the schools I went to out here in California, mortuary, their program was like well known in the state. Like if that's what the industry you wanted to go into, a lot of people went to that school to get, I don't know if it's a certification or a licensing, but I know that was huge, at least back in the 90s when I went to college. And I guess a joke is, there's always people are always that's the biggest business you can be in.
Yeah, it
Unfortunately,
is.
I mean, unfortunately, but it's as someone that's lost loved ones as well. Excuse me. Your job is extremely important in that time of need for that person.
Yes, you don't think about it. You don't like having those conversations. My best friend did that with me Tuesday, added me to her life insurance policy. I'm like, what? Okay, I'll talk to the lady in a minute. I'm getting my hair done, so she'll have to talk to me in 2 hours. After I have some caffeine and food, then I'll kind of talk. I'm like, okay, yeah, you need to have those conversations, but people are like, I don't really want to. But I'm like, you kind of have to because you don't know what'll happen.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, it sounds like you've been involved in that, like you said, since middle school. But you're right. Like everyone tends to put those types of conversations off until they have to, and sometimes, unfortunately, that's too late, and it can make things messier and harder for the people that are having to deal with it. So. Yeah, it's a necessary evil in a sense. Being a director of social media, I think it's extremely important. I don't think any business can survive without it. Was it hard? Was that something you started from scratch for the church, or is that something they were doing and you kind of perfected it for them?
I basically created my position. I was doing the financial secretary and there was a lot of personal stuff going on. I said, let someone else do it. I don't have the mindset right now for that. But I saw that they had a Facebook, and my boss at the funeral home is the same one at the church. And I had to sit down and explain to him, like, technology is here. It's not going anywhere. Social media is here. You can reach people from all over the world. So when COVID hit, we only had 25 people. So we could do the, 6 feet of separation. No problem. Streaming for Wednesday night Bible study, Sunday service. We did 2 funerals at that time. His wife's funeral, which was literally standing room only, and he had to get a proclamation for the mayor to do that. And that's been viewed close to 2,000 times, and it's been 5 years. Then another one was his uncle. So it generates a lot of revenue, a lot of views. We merged with another church a year ago. So get a little increase in membership. And if people around the neighborhood say, oh, I've watched you guys on Facebook, let me come in and check you guys out. So I'll do Facebook and Instagram with them. Debated about doing TikTok, but I'm like, it's an older church. They're not going to sit there and do all that foolishness that, people 18 to about 45 are going to do.
You don't know. Maybe in a couple of years they will have their own TikTok page. They probably never thought they were going to have Facebook and Instagram when you showed them the importance of that. So we'll wait and you'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, maybe, but both pastors are older, so I don't think TikTok, I wouldn't do it.
Do they see the benefits though now as to why that's important? Even though they are an older generation, why that's important to kind of you hate to say it for a church, but like get their brand out there in front of
Yes.
the community.
Yeah, you get your brand out, and we're in the middle. It's, I want to say, maybe 4 or 5 other churches around us, and they're non-denominational, so it's a good mixture of everything. So you have your option to go here, there, look at this one online, look at that one.
During your job search, what's the kind of the surprising challenge that you're experiencing that you weren't expecting since it's been a while since you were looking?
A lot of recruiters ghosting you, not replying back, the rejection emails, the networking really sometimes it doesn't really pay off. I've gotten in a program and got 3 different certifications. Sometimes that makes a difference, sometimes it doesn't. Or another downside, I would say money. Some people want to pay, some don't. Some do straight commission only. And I'm always one say, no, I can't do straight commission. I've never done that. I'll probably never do it. No, I have a family, can't afford to do that.
What's the one challenge you faced in your career, and how did you overcome it that you can think of?
One challenge I would say when I was younger doing retail, retail, no one really likes doing that. And having to make the choice that family and health was more important than money. Uh, they weren't understanding at the time.
What didn't you like about? I worked retail. What didn't you like about retail?
They weren't very understanding. Like, hey, I have this going on. This is more important. They're like, well, we need you here. You guys aren't that busy. I make more for my school checks than what you pay me. And a whole bunch of other people left when I did. And eventually the company went out of business anyway. So it's
Yeah.
just, even though I was part-time, work-life balance and employers actually care and understand, and they didn't.
Yeah, the hours and like you said, the grind in retail can be difficult. I think that's one reason we all do it like when we're younger in a sense.
Yes.
Not when
Yes.
you're older typically.
No. Customer service, I couldn't do it. Like, no, you guys are totally different brand, totally different breed. Customer service is not the same as it was before. I've seen that in restaurants. Like I was at a Chipotle and the lady was 2, 3 people in front of me. And she had the person make a burrito and it was hard for them to close it. And she was getting all the way to the end and said, I don't want it, and walked out. And everyone else in line apologized and said, that was rude and inconsiderate. Yes, because you spent time and I think they were the only one there to sit there and make all that, and people are like, here, we'll give you a little extra or buy something extra because that was horrible.
Yeah, and especially in like a Chipotle, you're asking them probably well, you're asking them what to put in the burrito. So, I mean, you're stuffing it, and then you're going to get mad at the person because they can't close the tortilla when it was probably their fault. I guess we'll go back. So, when I looked at your thing, I know it was a short period of time you worked for the IRS, right?
That was contract. It was 1 month, if
Oh,
that, and that took me 2 years to get after I graduated college, and that was the worst ever. It was working at night, and we sat there for 3 hours just sitting there doing nothing. Then they said, well, you guys can sort rubber bands. So I went to college to get an education to sit here to sort rubber bands.
it's not
Yeah,
a good
that was
sign for our
yeah, yeah. And that was from 9 to 6 in the morning.
graveyard. Well, no, that's not the graveyard shift. Graveyard shift's what, like midnight to 8 a.m. or something like that. But still, I don't know if I could do a night shift like that and stay awake. That'd be tough, especially if you're not really, they're doing minute tasks to keep you busy.
No, and it was slow. They didn't really have anything for us to do. That's why we sat there most of the time. We had to do something, otherwise we're all going to go to sleep.
From your work experience, whether it be something, what are the kind of leadership qualities you've picked up and you think everyone should learn as they grow in their careers?
Don't micromanage. Don't look over someone's shoulder. We're all grown. We all know we have a job to do. If you need help, ask. That's what your coworkers and managers and leaders are there for. I'm more hands-on. If you need help, I'll help you. I'll show you as many times as it takes to get it. And if something bothers you, sit there and let's talk about it. Let's see what we can resolve or fix.
You mentioned you've done like some certifications. If I'm not mistaken, you did one around cybersecurity. Obviously, that's coming up more and more with the internet. Have you found that stuff kind of useful and helpful just from a personal perspective, more so maybe than job hunting?
Not
No?
really.
Okay.
Not really. I thought about going into that, then doing that certification. I'm like, yeah, if I did IT, it would have been when I was younger in college because I've talked to with the program I went through for that. The recruiter was like, it's too oversaturated. and starting out, you only make 30 to 40,000. She's like, I know you don't want to go back that far. I said, no, that's more high school, college type stuff. And she said, yeah, that's why it's extremely oversaturated right now. And I even put in some for the government, and January 1st, they're done hiring. So it was good to get that certification to expose you to it.
Hmm.
But at the same time, it's like, yeah, I don't think I could sit there and do it.
What type of tools do you use to try to help you find your next, job in your career? I mean, is it just LinkedIn or using other types of tools you find helpful?
LinkedIn, you friends that are recruiters, ZipRecruiter somewhat, but if you put in a certain salary on ZipRecruiter, it always shows you the lowest one. Like that's not what I put in. Why are you showing me 10 to 20,000 less than what I put in? Dice, I've heard people use Lensa, and then I heard a very good friend of mine say don't use it. Say, yeah, that one was it Moms and another one Opera. And I've seen some on TikTok. They say check these remote jobs. I said it's a lot. I use any and every resource you can think of. From social media to LinkedIn, Indeed, ZipRecruiter, just networking with different recruiter friends I have. So it's all types of different things.
Yeah, there's so many out there. I have a hard time. Like I said, a lot of it's word of mouth. Like if somebody says, "Hey, try this out," you
Hmm.
do, but then you could find somebody kind of like your friend and says, "No, I don't like that one." And it could just be personal preference in a sense on some of them. But like anything, some of them may not be that great.
No, or they'll, like I know LinkedIn does it a lot. You'll see hundreds of people apply for it, and then they'll close it down and a week later open it back up. I'm like, why do you guys keep doing that?
Do you think that that's actually a good point? Do you think that's more of a LinkedIn thing, or you think that's a company thing? Because I see that you'll see a position,
Hmm.
where I've either applied for or whatever, maybe didn't get a response, and then, it comes across again and it'll say reposted. Do you think that's more the company, or do you think that's a LinkedIn thing?
I think it's both, really. Both of them probably do it. I know a lot of companies, they do that. And even a lot of recruiters have said online and social media that, yeah, I have a lot of recruiter friends that, yeah, the company will cut it off, interview some people, and then repost it if they don't find what they're looking for. I said, what are they looking for? A candidate that doesn't exist? You have to find someone that checks most of the boxes that you want. They're not going to check everything, or you go interview and they say, well, we hired internally. So why didn't you interview the internal person first, then do it external? No, you have to think you're on people's time. They're out here looking for jobs and it's almost like it's a cat and mouse game, kind of. Like job hunting is a full-time job in itself. That's why I think a recruiter told me a lot of people said, we'll just go back to school and get a degree in this and then try again.
And that's now, especially the online schooling, that may be something that's beneficial. And I think that's one reason you're seeing a lot of these places like Corsica and the various offering different certifications. Because, I talked about this earlier on the other one. It's like pivoting in a sense. Like, if you can't get hired in a position you've done for the last 20 years, you
Hmm.
got to start looking at other things, which makes it difficult because I may not have the same qualifications as you do because I'm
Right.
new to that. So the only way I can try to get there is to get certifications. But real life experience sometimes outweighs that. It just depends.
Yeah, it depends. I said if I got another certification, I might as well just go back and get a master's in it and just add that on top of everything else.
Yeah, I mean, like everything. I mean, depending on the positions, obviously, I think real life experience trumps certifications or, degrees in a sense. It does look good on paper. Um, nothing wrong with that. I mean, I went to college, I have my BA, but I got past that point where to get the master's, it's because, like I said, you get a family, you start doing things. It's definitely something you have to dedicate your time to. I like doing the certifications. I did them a lot when I first started this job search thing and then I was like, okay, then now I truly need to look more at trying to find a job than just getting another certification. So it's a fine line of saying, okay, what am I going to dedicate myself to give myself the best shot at the next role?
And I did 3 of them in 9 months, in addition to having a major surgery and therapy. I did 3 of them in 9 months.
Oh, that's impressive. Like you mentioned, I think finding a job or trying to find a job right now is takes a lot, if not all of our time. And a lot of the posts lately are around people's like mental well-being, trying to stay, positive. What are some of the things you try to do to keep your mindset in the right mindset.
I go exercise, go on walks, just take a break. Like the weekends, I won't even look like no. I'm just gonna stop for a while. Go grab something to eat, enjoy time with family, friends. Only do it from early in the morning, maybe mid morning, and then about 4 or 5 o'clock, and after that I'm done.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. I think the exercise is big just to move around. If you can get outside of the house, if the weather permits, for 15 minutes, just see that sun daily helps. And then, like you said, on the weekends, it is nice not to, I mean, we're all on our phones at some level doing something, but it is nice not to like kind of look at LinkedIn
Hmm.
until either like maybe Sunday night before you go to bed in case you need to follow up on some stuff, or first thing Monday morning. I think that's some of the best advice you can give people is that are just starting out in this search.
Yeah, take a break. Don't let it consume you because if you do, you'll get depressed and all that lovely stuff. So take a break on the weekend. It's okay to take a social media break too. It's needed.
Yeah. No, that one, yeah. That's a whole nother subject on that because all those things come into play, right? Especially if you're job searching and then you
Mhm.
look at social media and you may have friends that are, doing exciting and cool stuff and you're out here scouring the internet to try to find something. And that makes it almost makes it worse in a sense. So yeah, I think taking a break, anything in moderation, right, is
Yes,
good.
anything that for sure.
Even social media. I just lost my train of thought. I had a question on top of that. Now my mind just went blank after that.
And I'll add, I've also learned over the years that if you apply to a company, if you try for years and years and it doesn't work, take that as a sign as maybe you're not meant to work there. Because I've also talked to people that have been laid off from the company or they have said, yeah, this company is horrible, don't work for them, and they're much happier somewhere else. So I said,
Yeah.
look at those signs. Like, yeah, I've tried so many times, work here, it doesn't work. Even I've had people network and try to get me interviewed, and they said I don't know what the heck they're looking for. They're looking for unicorns that don't exist. Said that's okay. That's probably where I'm not meant to be anyway. I tell people look at it like that.
No, yeah, it's always if you can talk to people that work at certain companies, if you're doing job searches, I think it's been helpful. Some of the best luck I've had in regards to conversations, whether or not it leads to a job is entirely different, is just reaching out to that's one thing I have found useful in with LinkedIn is not really the recruiters per se. It's, if you're looking for in my case, it'd be like technical sales position. I'll find somebody doing that role at the company, and I've had some pretty good conversations just about what it is like to work at the company, to find out if it's something that might be interested in, that I'd be interested in working at. And then typically, if the conversation goes well, then it's the, hey, Jerry, who could I reach out to talk about this role? It is kind of weird to ask somebody you don't really know to give you a referral.
Yeah,
But at
it
least
is kind of where.
yeah, but at
So
least if they can, half the battle there sometimes is getting to know Jerry's the person I need to talk to. It's because if it's a larger company, you may find 30 different talent acquisition people.
yeah, I
And
said LinkedIn kind of does that well because they might even post a job poster, and I might send them a message. And also, if anyone's in my network, I'll do it that way. Or I've started doing looking at connections and seeing if any people that went to Northern, like I did, seeing if they have hiring, the little hiring banner on it, and look at that and see if they're hiring for anything that I like to do.
yeah,
But it's almost more open to work than hiring banners on LinkedIn or about even.
yeah. And then there's the debate, right? Excuse me. And you'll see recruiters, do you put the open to work banner on if you're truly looking, and then there's some that say you don't. I think my opinion is I think you gotta let people know you're looking. I mean,
Yeah,
they're not gonna probably. I mean, I shouldn't say that. More than likely, they may not look at your post per se, but if I see you and I see the banner, guess what? Then I know, and then I may look at your work history. I mean, I don't think it hurts.
it doesn't. I leave it on there. Or I've seen some people have hire her or hire him on there. I said everybody's banner's different. Everyone's banner's different, but I see it's more open to work, especially now when you have the big tech companies laying off people. Like, yeah, we're all going to be open to work pretty soon.
Yeah, well, let's hope that, or not all, but no, you're right. Like, you get these large layoffs, and then yet those companies are still hiring people for different types of roles, which I think surprises a lot of people. But you can rift a whole section and still need to hire other aspects of your business. Because a lot of times those people in those positions don't want to work in those other aspects of the.
No. They don't like that's not what I have experience for. You
Correct.
need to find someone that does. It's not me.
Yeah. Is there anything you try to do to separate yourself, knowing that there are so many people that are, looking for employment currently? Is there anything you try to do on LinkedIn or on any of the other sites to separate yourself so you kind of stand out more?
I have a extension on my web browser that I'll use, and majority of people use AI for the resumes anyway. And I'll just sit there and plug it in to the extension, and it'll come up and match the skills and add anything I don't. And it's another free resume writer that I use to help with the summary so that it matches up. Because I've gotten to the point where I have to say, if I post something, please, no resume writers, no career coaches. You guys charge astronomical fees. Like one lady wanted, was it $6,000? And I said, ma'am, if people are looking for work, that means they're tight on money, which means they're not going to spend $3,000 to $6,000 for your service.
Yeah, there's a ton of that's the problem too, is there's a ton of those people out there. Some are really good at what they do. That's one reason they can charge those things. Some aren't, and they still charge those things
Huh?
because they can, and people will pay when they're desperate. I've also seen, I'm sure you've seen, you have a handful of people that say, like, if you get me hired, I'll give you 1 month's worth of salary in a sense. And I've seen up to $10,000 offer. I'm curious if those people have success, because to be honest, I think what you would pay. I mean, if I said, "Hey, I can guarantee you a job in the field you want to go into," based on your salary range, it's going to cost you $6,000. You'd sign up today, but in all those cases, and like anything, there's no guarantees. But if it's not going to get you any better than what you're doing on your own with the free services, why would you pay? And that's, I think, the where we all kind of struggle with that, because it's trying to figure out which ones are the good ones.
Yeah, and I've seen posts from people on LinkedIn that have said, yes, I've tried a resume writer, spent this money, and still nothing. And I said, if you went to college, you can get a career counselor or whatever. Just go back to the school, reach out to the career coaches there, and they'll help you for free. You can do that versus paying someone to do all that. People are like, but yeah, you're right, I can. I have to say online, please no resume writers, please no MML people, like Prime America or anything like that, or any financial services. So I've had people inbox me after I posted that. I'm like, did you not read? I'm not interested in, I don't want that. Okay, you guys are a pyramid scheme. I don't see how you're still around. No, they're like, but no, please do not contact me ever again. Or LinkedIn has gotten to the point I normally post this that it's so many spam and scammer accounts that I'm reporting and blocking about 10 a day, if not more. And you can tell they're spam and fake because they say the same thing on every post that someone says, I'm open to work. And they'll have a fake picture, a crazy name that doesn't match the picture, fake profile, and say, hey, I see you're open to work. Please contact me. I have a great opportunity for you. And you'll see it on a whole bunch of other people's posts. I'm like, LinkedIn, can't you do something about this?
Yeah, they usually want you to contact them on like WhatsApp and stuff like that. I think we all get those, and occasionally, the text message will come to the phone instead of through LinkedIn. Yeah, and part of you wants to respond just to see, where it goes, and then it's like, no, it's not worth the time.
No,
And then,
or they'll inbox you saying, well, let me see your resume. No, I don't know you like that. And plus, your banner says open to work like mine. You could read my profile. It mirrors the resume.
yeah, yeah, you want to see what I did? Yeah, you found me on LinkedIn. Just look, it gives you virtually everything you need.
And then they'll stop talking. See, I knew you were a scammer. I just wanted to see how long you would keep talking until you stop.
Or the quick hang up in a sense.
Yeah, I've had that. I've had interviews where the person was on the Microsoft Teams, but they were typing and didn't want to get on camera. Like, okay, we'll see how long you'll sit there and play this out. And I'll keep trying to call them, and they were like, no, I'd rather type. I said, okay, I know you're a scammer. This is just fun for me. I just want to see how long you'll drag this out.
Well, yeah, well, hopefully I don't start doing that, but you may do just to kill time, just to see what it's like. But you're right. You would hope, but it's like everything else. They get through, the bad agents get through all the different. I'm sure LinkedIn has stuff set up to try to prevent that stuff, but people
You
get
would
through.
think. I don't really think they do because like I said, I block about 10 or more a day.
I mean, I guess if they don't, then people will look at it's like everything else. It's the number one platform for this type of service, but if it's not, if it doesn't support its users and there's enough complaints, they have to change stuff, right? I mean,
Yeah, like
you would
people have
you would
said
assume.
the premier membership on LinkedIn, people said that's not worth the money. That I know they've tried to get me to use. I said no, I don't. There's not much difference in the free versus the premier service you guys charge because you can email. Was it recruiters? I said you can find the recruiter or the job poster. It just takes a little more work versus paying for the premier membership.
Yeah, and not all jobs, even with the Premier
Yeah.
members. We had it through my last employer, so I've had it, and then when I left, I just kept it because I'm used to it. But not every job has that, anyways. But like you said, typically, if you want to, if you take the time to do research, you can narrow it down, and then
Yeah.
it goes back to them responding.
Now, what is your opinion on, say, job searching groups? Because I've a couple people have said, yeah, I go to that and, that helps. Does it help me get a job? It just helps me utilize better job searching tools.
I think the thing with any of these types of services, you have to continue, you have to find the one you like, which takes time. And then you can't just, it's hard to not just use something once. If it doesn't work, you're like, well, this isn't good. So let me try something else. Um, or I was talking about on the last podcast, we were talking about this. It's kind of like when you put in your job alerts, just so you know, you pick
Hmm.
a, whatever your specialty is, what you're looking for. Your results go back to what I put into it. So if I don't put good information into what I'm looking for, guess what? I'm going to get crap results. If I just
Exactly.
put, hey, send me job alerts for sales, guess what? Anything that's loosely based to sales is going to pop up and I'm going to get thousands of job alerts. So you truly do have to take the time to kind of master them to get the right information. Because, and we were talking about this with Sarah, was the young lady I did one earlier on. I asked, can you have too many job alerts? And she said yes. And I
Yes,
agree.
you can.
Because it's like notifications on your phone, right? If you get notifications from every app you sign up for, guess what? That's all you're looking at. And I have Ring at my house, so every time somebody walks by my house, I guess what? I get a notification. But I don't want to shut them off because what if something important happens? But then again, it's like a car alarm. I don't really look at them because it's
Yep.
nothing. So I think it really has to do with finding the right one. I think we're all kind of still looking because when I kind of like when you talk to your friends or colleagues, I can talk to 10 people about a service and get 5 people saying yes and 5 people saying no. Just like working for a company, right? If you
Right.
had a bad experience working for XYZ company, I said, hey Gerri, I'm looking at blah blah. What would you recommend? You're like, no, the place was not great. Wasn't great for you doesn't mean it's not. They could be horrible. There are some places just not good to work
Hmm.
for. I mean, but usually you get more opinions on that. So it's hard.
And I also use Glassdoor a lot.
Yeah.
I use them and the Indeed reviews. I said those two help out tremendously. When you get reviews from people that work there currently or previously, and they'll sit there and tell you the good and the bad about the company.
Yeah. And if you can
Yep.
reach out, as I said, when I have had luck reaching out to people I don't know and getting unsolicited information, I spoke to one and I'm talking to the company, and the guy said, they're great to work for, great benefits, blah blah blah. He's all, just so you know, the pays they don't pay as well as some of the other companies. So
Mhm.
it also then depends on what's important to you. If you have a family, benefits for me, I mean, in theory, because the types of positions I usually work, I can make it up on commissions, but I will take great. I've had great benefits. Both, if you ever can work for a telecommunications or a technology company, historically they have great benefits. So if you have a family, I'll take benefits over a couple extra $1,000 any day of the week. So it depends on what's important to you. But it was nice to hear that. You said great company, this is what so you also know that going into, if you're negotiating, if you get to that point where you have the ability to say, I'd love to
Yes,
work here, and they go, well, we pay this. Well, if they lowball, then you don't want to come back and say, okay, I need 20% more, because guess what, they
it's not
won't
going to
go
do it.
there, but maybe they'll go 10, and you can get, close that gap. So all that kind of information you can gather either through different posts or just talking to people is extremely important. It's just hard now because everyone is so busy.
Yes, they are.
It's kind of like you today. I appreciate this immensely that you took an hour out of your day to talk about this kind of stuff, because hopefully it broke up the monotony of your day. You can go back to maybe enjoying the rest of your day or doing something. But it's kind of, the other day when we were supposed to, like, I'd rather you have you focus on your interview than talk to me an hour before, because I said this is more of a, in a sense, this is a luxury to be able to do this.
Yes,
The
it is.
subject matter would be better. I'd rather be able to talk about I think your kids or your son plays football, what that was like. Because I know you volunteered to help. I was a soccer coach for 18 years. I mean, so I've done all that kind of stuff.
I
So I
miss
mean,
it.
you
I miss it.
do, it's kind of scary. We both my kids, well, they're 20 and 25 now, so they stopped playing when they were 18. But literally, that was their lives every weekend till they were basically. My son was 18. We traveling up and down California, different states, playing sports. And my wife ran the team pretty much. So she's booking stuff, but that's all you did. That was your family for 18 years in a sense. So
It wasn't until he got hurt, then it's like, the love for that was gone when he got hurt and had two knee surgeries. He's like, yeah, I said something about our knees. It's hereditary. They're just bad.
no, and that yeah, my daughter has had knee surgery, and my son was younger, and he wasn't. My daughter played like I did. Would play, you play through the pain. You did. My son saw that and was like, "Dude, I'm done." And then now we play pickleball, myself and my wife, and we're older. We got bad knees, and my daughter just laughs. She's like, "I don't you remember when you used to make me?" And I'm like, "Whatever. You were young. You were supposed to do those things. We're old."
Tell her
But
don't laugh about it.
yeah,
It took them 20 some odd years before they actually would actually fix mine and replace it.
yeah, yeah.
But
It's
I'm like, don't laugh. I haven't got the pickleball yet. I have
yeah.
not gotten there yet. It's a court literally down the street at the park.
It's you move around. It goes back to physical activity. There's not a lot of sports you can play. I'm not a gym person per se, but I'm very competitive. I've played sports since I was little, so I'd rather go. I'll go out there and fool around for a couple hours. It gets me moving around, and
Funny you say that. I'm trying to get back in the gym after a 2-year hiatus, and it's like, do I go back where I was before? But I'm like, y'all had cancellation issues and fees, or do I try somewhere else that's cheaper and that's 24?
yeah,
Because, like I said, COVID changed a whole bunch of stuff. The way you job search, the way you shop. I'm like, yeah, nothing's really, with the exception of like certain gyms and gas stations, nothing's really 24/7 anymore. And I
no,
said, the malls, you guys aren't open the same. Some of them, like, I don't see how you guys make a profit, but okay, I guess everything's online now.
yeah, it definitely changed. Like you said, everything. Like I mean, you don't have staffing, so restaurants, typically if they had a bar, they were open till midnight at like 11 p.m. Now they're closing like at 9 to 10. Because they do one shift. I mean, it makes sense. If I own the restaurant, you basically open like at 11 noon for lunch. You go till about 9, maybe 10. So you're only really doing like one shift if you can get away with it. So you're cutting down because everything's so expensive. People, like I said, shopping. I don't. If I have to shop at a mall, it's very strange.
If I do, it's right when they open.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I
Perfect.
said,
Yeah.
after that, no, I am not going. It's teenagers there. I'm like, no, I don't. I said, you weren't that bad, but no, I don't. And I've said this to other people, food doesn't taste the same anymore either. I said, you have to look at a lot of businesses that opened during the pandemic, and majority of them I know here, they're gone. They've closed. They're like, we
Yeah.
can't. With the rising cost of food, it was one lady I talked to her about maybe working for her, and she's like, I can't afford you with the rising cost of food and everything. I can't afford it. And I said, that's okay. One day I'll come in there and visit. But I'm like, to survive in this economy, you might have to have 2, 3, 4 jobs just to make ends meet, just to even put gas in the car.
Yeah. We definitely have to look at things differently, and you find out truly in certain aspects what you have to work for to live. Make sure you have what you can live in a sense, and what really becomes a luxury. I mean, I guess the one positive is people ate better when the pandemic because you were eating at home a lot and making your own foods where you could. So I said, I guess that would be a positive. I mean, that's a positive, but there are other aspects. I mean, we went through it. We're still getting out of it, which seems strange to
Forever.
say.
It is. And he graduated during the pandemic, so that was a little weird and different, finishing up your senior semester of high school online versus in person.
My daughter graduated college during it, as well as my son. Same thing, high school. So yeah, I mean, yeah, both of their last 2 years, I think, whatever it was pretty much online. And they're plenty positives that, but it's bad for social skills. They already had bad enough social skills. Make them work. I mean, they
Um,
don't know how to communicate.
I think it worked better for him. He's not a people person.
You got to learn that. But that's the ones. I mean, most people aren't. But you have to. I tell my son this every day. You still have to have the skill. You
Yeah,
don't.
he has
You
it.
you have to be able to fake it in a sense.
He has it because he's done the funeral home with me sometimes.
Okay.
You know, he's worked in retail and like he's like, this is not for me. I can't do it.
Yeah.
He said everyone that started there with him, it was him and one other person that were still there and they both left. So I
Mm.
said, yeah, work culture, environment, all that stuff you have to think about.
Yep. No, and hey, you learn that when you're young. I mean, and that's the important part is for him or for me that you learn what you want to do when you get older. Um, and and that's why you go to school or whatever the case is. It could just be you want to be a plumber. Plumber makes great money. I'm not handy. No one would hire me. There's no point in me, But
I
there
can
are
do
people.
some stuff, not a
Yeah.
lot, but even that, they're pushing between eventually college would be too expensive for anyone to afford, so you have to look at trade schools. I'm like, will they outprice themselves too? To where you have to think like, gee, what am I going to do?
Long term, it'll all figured itself out. I mean, but we still got a ways to go. But Jerry, I appreciate you taking the time. I said this. I hope this was an enjoyable experience. I said the way you're sharing your experience will be beneficial to people out there, and hopefully, I wish you the best of luck in your job search going forward.
Likewise, and I said I would do it because you have my son's exact name.
That's what you said. Is his middle name Joseph? Because he'd be perfect if it was Joseph. Christian Joseph Harris. That's
Yep,
my full name.
that's his too.
Is it really his full name?
He was born a week before Christmas, so yes.
Yeah.
And I always say, why didn't you just come out on Christmas?
Yeah, you're already losing the birthday to Christmas already because it's a week. You might as well do the whole thing be born on Christmas.
Yeah, we split it, cut some of his gifts on his birthday, the rest on Christmas, but I think he's only had maybe three, four parties.
Yeah.
Say, cause son, when your birthday comes around, everyone's broke, son. So
Yeah.
you're not gonna get parties like that.
Yeah. No, I know people that they do like 6 months, right? Yeah. But no, yeah, yeah. You're spending all the money on Christmas, but no,
Mhm.
it's
Now, if
a.
you had the same birthday as him, that'll be like,
I wasn't too far. I'm November 18th, so I'm not that far.
no, not that far. And
That's about
Joseph,
two
that
2 week
was
difference.
Joseph is my grandfather's name.
Joseph was my grandfather's name. I was Christian comes from my mom loved Marlon Brando. I think it was in the on the waterfront. I think it was his character name was because I get asked that all the time. Usually people think it's for religious purposes, obviously, but no. But
Kind of, sort of, because I had different names. I'd watched The Godfather and was going to name him like Corleone. I'm like, that doesn't work. Or I'm a big Prince fan, and my mom said, I don't think so. But she said, no.
should have done the symbol. Could have done the symbol, and that
No,
would.
then he would have said, really, mom? Or I've seen some people spell it with a K instead of a C. I said, that's different and weird, but no, we spell it.
Yeah, and I had one of my players. They didn't have the H, so it's CRIS. So now yeah, that's a whole nother, like nowadays with how people the spelling of names and stuff to be different. Like my daughter's name is Allison, and some people do well. I'm like, no, we go
That's
traditional.
two.
It's ALLISO. I'm like, we're not messing around and messing people up.
No, I said it's spelled the way it's spelled. I don't do weird stuff. No, that's too confusing for me and for you. It's simple to the point.
Yeah, no. Well, you have a good day. You can tell
Thank you.
Christian. Christian says hi.
All right, I will. Thank you. It was lovely speaking with you, Christian. Have a good
You
one.
too. You
Bye
too.
bye.
Bye bye.